Hello again, everyone, and it's time for another movie review! Yay! Like I said, I'm going to be doing these more, so I'm excited about this. Tonight's movie was Maleficent. Alright, so let's talk about Disney for a little bit. I'm a Disney file from way back. I really loved the Disney. I really love Disney's films. I love the direction they've been taking lately. It's been wonderful. So, I was excited to see this movie when it came out because, I like Reduxes and I like Sleeping Beauty, so, here we go. And so, I went to see it tonight because a bunch of friends were saying that they were going to go see it, and, well, it's a mixed bag, and I'll get into that in a minute. Just to preface, though, again, I really, really hate to do these things, not spoiler-free, but this is another movie where I really don't know how you can discuss it without getting into spoiler territory. So, mild spoilers, possibly major spoilers, probably throughout, so I'm warning right now, just so it's out there, you know. Alright, so, let's get started. First, there's the story. Have we seen Sleeping Beauty? Do I really need to talk about the story that much? Well, yeah, it's essentially the story of Sleeping Beauty from the point of view of Maleficent. Directly before, a little bit, like, it gets into Maleficent's past, like, where she came from, why she's so hell-bent on doing this stuff to Aurora. All that fun stuff. It really delves into her relationship with King Stefan, Aurora's father, greatly, and that gets very interesting. And I'll get into that in a minute when I get to the pros and cons. But essentially, there's really nothing more to say about the story than that. It's it's pretty much a redux of Sleeping Beauty. So if you know Sleeping Beauty, you pretty much know Maleficent. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say for story. And now let's get into the pros and cons. First pro, Angelina Jolie's Maleficent is incredible. It's wonderful. There are times when it can get over the top, but I feel that really suits the character because she really explores the entire journey of this character. She starts in a place of like total innocence, learns what the world is like, goes down a really dark path, and it turns out to be sort of a redemption story, and I'm a sucker for redemption stories. So that was wonderful. The story elements for the beginning, for Maleficent's backstory, were really strong, and a lot of the stuff in the middle was too. Not so crazy about the ending, but I'll get into that in a little bit. Some of the other, performance, I was trying to think what other performances I was really impressed by, but honestly, Jolie steals the show for the whole movie, really. She's really, really good. And, like, there's subtlety to the role, there's a sense of play, a sense of just you know where this character's going at all times, and it's an interesting journey that Jolie takes us on, and that's to the film's credit, very much so. Actually, I almost forgot. The guy who plays her Raven associate, who they name Diaval in this movie, a reference to the Diablo of the original Disney Sleeping Beauty, but not going too overt, I guess. He was really strong. He was very, very strong as an actor. He supported Jolie in every scene she was in. I never quite felt that I knew what exactly his motivation was, though. I mean, he was helping her just to help her. I know he swore to be her servant and wasn't backing away from that, but I feel like he could have questioned her a little bit more. Sometimes he complained a little bit, but I wish he'd shown a little bit more of a spine. I mean, it was a strong performance, it really was, but it was really interesting. Some of the visual effects, I will say, were also very good. Whenever Maleficent does any sort of magic, it's really cool looking, and some of the creature designs are also really wonderful. And that's to whoever designed that. That's to their credit, because some of them were really neat. Particularly, the Raven character takes on various forms throughout the film. And each one of these forms is given, like, a raven-like appearance to it. Like, there's a raven horse, a raven wolf. It's really cool to see, like, the feathery appearance. Sometimes they get a little beaky, too. That was some good designs. A lot of the creature designs were excellent. Like, there's another part, early on in the movie where Maleficent is fighting a group of people with, like, this, army of trees that she summoned, and a lot of the designs there are really very, very cool. Like, there's this one tree snake that comes out of nowhere. That's, a lot of them were interesting. A lot of Lord of the Rings in this movie. Like, obviously the tree army. The designs were a little too magical to be Lord of the Rings, but there was another one where it makes reference to, like, that green beam that shoots out of Minas Morgul in Return of the King, and so that was a good time. We were sort of playing Spot the Lord of the Rings references at various points in the film. Also, they do almost line for line the opening scene from Sleeping Beauty. You know, the one where Maleficent shows up and puts the curse on Aurora initially. They do that almost line for line, the same as the Disney movie, but knowing Maleficent's motivations this time going in, and knowing why she's there, what her relationship is with, has been with King Stefan, it's really interesting. And that's another thing I want to get into really quickly, is what exactly her relationship is with King Stefan. Again, we're getting into spoiler territory here, so be careful. So the thing about Maleficent in this movie is she's this young, innocent fairy just living in this they call it the Moors. It's like this sort of magic area. It reminded me of the more fantastic elements of Narnia in that way, I suppose. But she is essentially she spends her entire childhood with this kid who shows up in the Moors. He's this poor kid with the narrator calls them dreams of aspiration, dreams of, like, greatness, aspirations to greatness, dreams of aspiration. What the hell? But she spends her entire childhood getting to know this young kid, letting him play with her, get to know her well, and it's a good dynamic between the two. And you find out later that this kid is King Stefan. He, like, spends his entire childhood with Maleficent, is very good friends with her, gives her her first kiss on her birthday, and then when they grow older, Stefan's, like, risen high enough in order to become, like, a really important person at the court of the king. And the king's just like, the king has tried to conquer the enchanted Moors before, but was stopped by Maleficent. So he's like, whoever kills Maleficent for me is going to be my successor, because I only have a daughter. And alright, here's where it gets into... Stefan basically takes this offer, goes back to the forest, talks to Maleficent. He goes ostensibly to warn Maleficent about, this whole thing that the king is doing with her. And he drugs her, he cuts off her wings, and he brings them to the king. He doesn't kill her, but he essentially violates something that is her very nature and takes away something that's a part of her. And that's incredibly strong. I wish it didn't have to be like that, that rape metaphor, because essentially that's what it was. But, because, I mean, that is so overused nowadays for, like, a strong female motivation. And you don't need that, I don't think. I've never written a character where their motivation comes from a rape or a rape metaphor. So, but it was strong. It was a very strong aspect of the movie. You sympathized with Maleficent because of what had happened over that, because of how King Stefan had deceived her, and, you know, what he had done under false pretenses, and it was very strong. And especially when you get to, again, that same scene from Sleeping Beauty, again, almost word for word, it's wonderful. And then the redemption aspect comes in after she curses Aurora, and Aurora comes to live in the forest with Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. They had different names in the movie, but God knows I don't remember them. She's essentially watching Aurora for her entire childhood to ensure that she grows up, and eventually Aurora notices this and finds Maleficent, and Maleficent and Aurora start to form this bond, to the point where Maleficent tries to take away the curse that she already put on her, but it can't be revoked, and it was really interesting, the relationship that she had with Aurora, especially watching Angelina Jolie play the whole journey that Maleficent was going through. And by the end of the movie, when the curse finally does strike, this is something I won't spoil, but they play around with the whole true love's kiss thing that they had in the original Disney movie, I mean. It's Prince Philip is here too, but the true love's kiss has a sort of different twist to it this time around. And it was very strong, and I love that that's the direction that Disney is taking now. Without having, like, romantic love be the be-all and end-all of all loves. They did it with Frozen, they're doing it again here in a different kind of relationship, and that's to their credit, and I felt that was very strong with the movie. So, I think that's a lot of the positives. It was a well put together story for the most part, and Angelina Jolie's performance was incredible and just really carried the movie. Alright, let's get into some of the not so great stuff, and we'll start with I praised some of the visual effects and designs before, but that being said, some of them were not so great. Some of the designs for, like, some of the other creatures that live in the moors where Maleficent lives, there's this weird, like, fat little pig thing that it just never looks right when it's there. Maybe that's just my own personal preference, but other people who saw it with me said that they agreed that it was a little weird. So, there's that, and then there are other parts where you can tell that what you're watching was made by a computer. There's a part where Aurora falls off a cliff, and Maleficent uses magic to pull her back up, and the Aurora looks so fake. And then there's another point where Prince Philip is, I think, like, rearing his horse or something. He's not on a real horse. I don't know if they just couldn't get the horse to do it, or if the actor didn't want to do it. I don't know. But, some of the visual effects were not great. Also, they could have used a real raven. I mean, at some points, they had to get the raven to do things that a real raven would not do, like express certain emotions that you had to get through, but there's practical effects for that. I will forever say, if you can use a practical makeup effect, or like a realistic enough looking animatronic or puppet or something, go there before you go to CG, because it benefits the movie. It really does. works for certain things, and I think it really would have benefited them here. I really do. Alright, let's get into some of the, lamer performances. Charlton Copley, I don't know. The guy, I've already criticized him once here on my reviews with my Elysium review. Can the man ever play anything subtle? I mean, I've seen him in like 4 other things, and I don't think he's put in a subtle performance in anything. I mean, I know he's supposed to be, he's the villain of this film, and, I mean, it works, but sometimes he plays it a little too psychopathic. Like, it was interesting because he was falling into deeper paranoia, but at some points it felt very cartoon villain. And I thought we were trying to escape from that a little bit with this whole live-action thing. Also, the man can't do an accent to save his life. Again, this is something I complained about with Elysium last year, where I didn't know what the heck kind of accent he was doing. Here he was trying to do a Scottish accent, but it was terrible. It was really awful. Again, it was like cartoony, it was over-exaggerated, and at some points it wasn't even Scottish. Another friend of mine who I went to see this with said he thought he was doing an Irish accent for most of the movie, and I was like, no, it was definitely Scottish, it just wasn't very good Scottish. So yeah, stop putting him in movies where he has to do accents. I don't even know if he had to do the accent. Another thing, the Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather characters, they were comic relief, and, when most of the scenes they were in, they were pretty amusing, they were pretty funny, but the thing about it was, they were, I don't know whether I wanted less of them, or more of them, honestly, because, the scenes that they're in, they do fine, but they really aren't in enough of the movie. They only have like 20 minutes of screen time, probably total. So that's why I say either put them in more or put them in less, but just give them more of a character. I mean, I know the emphasis of the movie is supposed to be on the relationship between, Aurora and Maleficent, but Aurora was being raised by these women for the majority of her childhood, and yeah, it shows them being incompetent at some points, but I wish we'd know more about their relationship with Aurora as well. We know plenty about Maleficent's now, but I just wish we'd known a little bit more about their relationship, is all. The ending got a little hokey. I'm not going to get into it too much because I feel like I've already spoiled too much, but the ending was not one of the strongest aspects of this whole thing. Like, just the very ending. If it had stopped after Aurora had woken up, that would have been great, but there were just some things with King Stefan's character that I felt really could have been improved upon. Like, I really wanted him to have a redemption story, and he didn't, which was distressing. But yeah, the ending got a little hokey. We did get to see a dragon though, so that was nice. And then there's another thing that I meant to address earlier and didn't. They established very early on in the movie that Maleficent and all other fairies have, like, this weakness to iron. So, there's various points in the movie where people are seen using, iron weapons against Maleficent or something, but as soon as, like, she comes out of contact with it, the burn disappears. So, I don't know that it was ever really a major threat. I mean, I guess if you were to stab her with something iron, which I guess is what they were trying to do at various points in the movie, maybe it wouldn't heal, I don't know. But there seems to be a bit where they actually are attacking her with iron weapons, and it seems to be affecting her at least somewhat, but then a couple minutes later, after she gets out of it, she's fine. So, I don't know, I just felt like that could have been explored a little bit. Also, the inconsistent use of Maleficent's powers. She has some powerful magical abilities, which I've already described. When she uses them in the movie, they look great. But, she also... One thing that really annoyed me was, she, in the Sleeping Beauty scene, she teleports in and, you know, delivers her ultimatum and the curse to Aurora. But she never uses it again. Never once in this movie, which there were various points where I was like, she needs to get somewhere really quickly, like she's riding a horse or something, and I was like, you can teleport. Why aren't you teleporting? I don't know. It annoyed me, and I mean, I spoke with them afterwards, and they were like, well, maybe Stephanus protected his castle with iron, or the iron actually does affect the magic in some way, and you just, it just wasn't well explained. I don't know for sure, but that's as good an explanation as any, I guess. So that annoyed me a little bit, but I wouldn't say it ruined it. Alright, so final sum up for Maleficent. I liked it. It was a mixed bag of various elements, but overall, I think, the story of our main protagonist was enough to, keep me there and keep me interested. Even if some of the performances were over the top and some were pretty understated. Aurora was really quite understated for most of the film, but I don't feel like it bothered me. Philip! I forgot to talk about Philip. Philip was fun. Philip was a nice guy, and as I said, they play around with the true love's kiss trope, and, you know, the nature of true love, and Philip's an amusing character in that regard. I'm not gonna ruin it, but he has this great line when he goes to kiss Aurora, where, you know, he's like... I can't ruin it. I can't ruin it right now. But it's great. It's a very funny line, and, I really enjoyed that aspect of the Aurora-Philip relationship. I enjoyed Aurora, too, even if she was, fairly understated. I didn't really have a problem with her. But, again, it's Angelina Jolie's Maleficent that really steals the show, and if only for that performance, I would really recommend seeing this movie. And, you know, getting an interesting and fresher take on a character that most of us, a lot of us, are familiar with who've seen the Disney movie. But yeah, I would recommend it. I can't really think of any good reason not to see it. Except for, again, maybe the slight weakness with the third act. But it wasn't really a problem. As I say, it didn't ruin the movie, so... I mean, it's not the strongest film I've ever seen, but it was enjoyable. It was entertaining. I had a good time watching it. So, it's a mixed bag, but if you're into Disney, if you're into Maleficent, or if you just want to see a good character study, go ahead and check it out. I would recommend it. So yeah, there we go. That's my 2 cents. And, yeah, that's about it. I enjoyed it. Go check it out. Alright, well then, that's it for me for now, so, I guess I'll see you next time. Which, may or may not be The Fault in Our Stars. So, I was requested to check that out, and I'm probably going to. So, I guess I'll see you next time for possibly The Fault in Our Stars. Alright, bye-bye.